hours right after the lecture.
Thank you. Yeah.
You can stick around. We can take a look at it together.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay. Bye. All right. Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Let's see. Well, I'm trying to do this on the iPad since I wanted to go over the midterm together. And I can write on the iPad. So, but it's the first time I'm streaming also from the iPad. So I don't know how this is going to work, hopefully. So hopefully it'll work. Okay. Let's see.
So when is the midterm gonna be due now?
So, uh-oh, did I just kill my stream? Oh no. It's gonna be this weekend. So starting on Friday. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then Monday evening. Hello? Can you hear me?
Yep. So Monday evening or Monday at 11:59?
Monday at midnight.
Okay.
Okay, recording on YouTube.
I can see your stream on YouTube, so I think that's working.
Okay, can you see my stream on YouTube?
Yes.
Oh, you can? Awesome. Okay, great. Good. Yeah, so let's see. Cancel. All right, so real quick. Yeah, so I moved the due date for the A4 for Wednesday, since there were some technical issues with the server, and so just to give you a couple more days to finish that up, and so I thought maybe I should give you a couple more days because of the I guess you've spent more time on the A4 than I expected, so I'll give you a couple more days to finish up and get prepared for the midterm. So I think it's better to do it on the weekend. You have more choices to decide when to do it. So I think with this new way of doing all things remotely, it makes sense to just have it over the weekends, less stressful, I'm guessing. So yeah, so made available Friday morning, and then available Saturday, Sunday, and then Monday at midnight, and you'll need I'll make it 3 hours, but I don't imagine that you'll need 3 hours. And the questions that we're going to go over today are somewhat representative of what you should expect. Okay, I did send an example set of questions, and so I wanted to go over it and work on it together today. And so if you want to ask questions, we can go over it together. Okay.
Professor?
Yes.
Just to get an idea of what the week's going to look like, do you plan to do continued review on Wednesday, or are we going to start a new section? Or
we're going to get started on RESTful services. Maybe get together if we have time at the end of the lecture. We can take a look at the upcoming assignments and start talking about the material in earnest on Wednesday.
Okay, cool. Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So let's see. Let me see if I can find the. Okay, how do I share screen here? Start video. Share screen. Share screen. There it is. Okay. All right. Can you see my screen? Do you see the exam?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
great. I'm not sure if I can see the chat from here. How would I see the chat? Can somebody send me a chat message, see if I can see it? when I'm not,
Is there like a dot, dot, dot?
I don't see a dot, dot, dot.
I don't know. I just use it on my iPhone.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll join with the computer. Yeah, let me do that. I'll join with the computer. Join. And so I could.
Recording in progress.
Oh, hello. Okay. This meeting is being recorded. Okay, continue. Let's see if I can see the chat. Okay, so I'm seeing the chat. Can somebody write something on the chat to see, make sure I see it? Okay, great. I see the chat. Excellent. All right, excellent. All right, so but you can still see my the midterm, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and you can see me writing on the screen. Wait a minute. You see me writing on the screen?
Yep. Yep.
Yep.
Actually, but I wanted to use, there we go, this one. Okay, so let's go over these questions. Let me know on the chat if you have any questions. So this first question says, which of the following options creates a form element whose initial date is the date of the end of the World War II, September 2nd, 1945? So, okay, so it gives us 4 multiple choices. And as many of my questions, you'll notice that 2 of them are obviously wrong and 2 of them are iffy, you know, that you have to kind of think about it. How are they different? And let's see. So it looks like they all have inputs, except this one has date, right? And there is no date input field, right? So definitely we're gonna remove that one. And there's also no input fields that has date attribute. So that's not either. So it's between these 2 now. And so the only difference between the 2, I mean, they're both input, they both have the same date type, they both have values, right? So the only thing that is different, right, is these 2 values. So basically it's asking us if we know the format for setting up the value of a date input field. And it turns out that there is a standard, and the standard is that it's y, then month, and then day. That's the standard. And so, I mean, it will, the input field will render differently depending on where you access the web page. You know, it'll render differently in Italy or in China or India, or here in the United States. The browser will render it based on the locality, but the way you set the value of the date is standard. There's only one format, so that's the one. Okay, so we'll go with that, with number 2. Okay. This one's fairly simple. It's asking us that if we know what the format of HTML is. And I guess the only 2 hints that they give us is that this is the main content, right? And that this is a title, right? So presumably, you know, this would be the title elements, right? And that kind of forces some of the other elements to be something else, right? So if that's the title, right, and this is, notice that this is the closing of a tag, then the only parent of the title could possibly be the header, right? So if that's the opening, I mean, if that's the closing, then this must be the opening, right? Or well, maybe not header, but head. Sorry. Okay, and if that's head, then this must be HTML. Okay. That's and also if this is head, right, then that must be body, right? And then this must be the closing of the body, and this must be the closing of HTML. Okay. Yeah. All right. Let's see. Here, it's asking us about radio buttons, right, and that are mutually exclusive. And so radio buttons, unlike checkboxes, right? Radio buttons presumably are for selecting a single choice. Just like over here, right? These are radio buttons, and you're supposed to just choose one or the other, but not and not more than one. And so by default, radio buttons all by themselves are not mutually exclusive, right? The way to make them mutually exclusive is to make them be part of the same button group, right, or radio group. And the way you create radio groups is by making the names be the same, right? Be the same. So this is asking you, whether you know how to create, button groups and make them mutually exclusive, and it gives you a whole bunch of choices, right? And again, we can start eliminating a couple of ones that are obviously wrong, right? So there are no radio elements, so those we can throw away real quick, right? So these two can go away. So again, you're left off with two options that are very similar to one another, and the only thing that they're different or that differentiates is that this uses ID, whereas this uses name, right? And so you need to remember that it is name how you create groups. Although this one you could definitely see that this can't be the case, right? Because IDs by definition are unique, so you can't have values that are the same, right? So this just by considering that, you can throw away this option and just leave the first as the correct option. Okay. So here's question 4 is the first of several puzzles that kind of evaluate whether you understand the flow of data in Redux, and how does it connect to React and ES6 and whatnot, right? So here what we're given here are a couple buttons. No, let's see. Oh, there's a reducer here, right? There's a reducer, and now the names of the variables are irrelevant, right? It's their meaning, and if I tell you that this is a reducer, then this must be the state, right? And this must be the action, right? And then this would be the state that the reducer generates. And notice that it's constant, right? It's there's it always comes back with creating a state variable called D, right? Who has a value of E that is inside of C. And what is C? C is the action, right? So presumably there is some action dot E value that somebody's storing somewhere, and that's what this always returns, right? So D always going to have the value of E, whatever that is, okay? But it's always going to be the same state. Notice that there's no switch statement, there's no if statement. It always returns the same state, okay? What else do we have here? So we got React, right? Just looks like it's a functional component, right? Functional component, and it has looks like it has two properties, G and I, and G has it's a default value of H, okay? And presumably we're going to have a connect, right? A connect is going to inject us values for G and H and I. Let's see how do we use G and I. Looks like this button is binding to an event handler, and it's going to invoke I. Okay, so it looks like looks like we're this I, right? We are evoking the function that is being passed to us. So I is a function, looks like it's a function, and we are passing the value j to that function. Okay. What else we have here? Looks like the button has a label, so that's the label of the button, right? Let's see what else. Okay, so down below here, notice what we have a connect, and we are connecting to f, right, which is this function over here, that function over there, right? So this is our functional component, which we are connecting here, and we are using the connect function here, and we're providing two arguments to the connect function, which are the first one must be the state mapper, and the n must be the dispatcher, right? Okay. Also notice in the dispatcher, so the dispatcher, remember the dispatcher creates the map for the functions in the properties of the function that we're going to pass, whereas the state, right, injects the state variables, right? Notice that I, right, that's this one, this function that we're receiving here, this I right there, right? Right, we're injecting that I, and G, right, is the value here, the that we're injecting right there, right? So let's see. Let's see. So what is G? What is G at the beginning? G is H, right? Because that's the state that comes in here, and so this would render as H at the beginning. Well, unless what? Because the reducer runs, right? The reducer runs and it generates this over here, D. Okay, let's see. What happens when we press the button? We press the button, we call I sub j, and here's I, and P is the variable, the parameter, which is j. Right, and we call who? O must be the dispatcher. Right, O must be the dispatcher. And we're passing an action object whose type is P, although the type doesn't matter, right? The type doesn't matter because remember, we don't have a switch statement in the reducer, so the type is irrelevant. We are passing an E whose value is P, and what's P? P is J, right? Right, so we're passing E with a value of J in the action. Meaning in this action right here, we are passing an E, which is J, right? And then passing then in the state D. So D has what value? J, right? D is J. So that when we come in here, in the state, there's D, which is what? It's J, right? Which is being inserted into G. So G, after a while, becomes J. And it gets rendered here as J. Right? So the question was, what happens, what's the text of the button before it's clicked? So apparently it looks like it's H, right? And after we click it, we call the function with a J, right? Here's J that goes into the action, and from the action, right, it goes into D, and then from D goes into G, and then from G, right, we get the J in here. Right, so it's J, so it becomes J. Okay, that makes sense. So you can expect there to be some puzzles like this, right? Where you can, what happens if you click, a button twice and then you click this one, what's going to be displayed, all right? Okay, so let's take a look at another one. It says, consider the code snippet below. What does H1 render when you click on the following buttons? So we're going to click on button A and button B. So we have, there they are, right? So these are the two buttons that we're going to click. And what do we have here? Let's see. Okay, so there's a hint here that this is a reducer, right? That's a state. That's the action, right? And the action has a type. Okay, and the type can either be A or S, right? Okay, and also on the components, we are being passed two functions, A and S, okay, which we are going to invoke by clicking one button or the other button. Then C looks like it's data that we're going to display. Okay, so what happens when we click on A? When we click on A, we call the function A with 5 and 6. All right, so who gives us that function A? Right, the DM, right, the dispatch mapper, and we pass in 5 and 6. So we pass off here 5 and 6 with the type A. So when we get here and we're here, case A with 5 and 6. Right, so what do we return? We return C, return as 11. Okay, so there's our C, 11, which we are binding to the property C, which is right here, C, right? And it's 11. So that means that this label here renders as 11 at first. Okay, when we click A, we get 11. Now when we click on B, we call S with 7 and 5. So basically it's this S over here with 7 and 5. So this is 7 and this is 5. And the type is S, right? So it's this S, this case over here, S with 7 and 5. And so C gets, 7 minus 5 equals 2, right? So this becomes 2, which gets passed on to C, and then C is rendered here as 2, right? So after we press B, right, we get the value number 2. Make sense? All right, so let's do a couple more. All right, so consider the following React reducer and components code snipper which have no syntax, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so, all right, let's see. Okay, so what's happening here?
I think
Hello?
there was a question. I think there was a question in the chat for the previous question.
Oh, okay, so let's see. If we don't click any button, then H1 is empty, right? That's for right, because that C doesn't have an initial value. So yes, correct. So C is not set to anything, right? It's undefined, and so it would not render anything. Yep. Yeah, good question. Excellent. Thank you.
Professor,
Yes.
are you gonna post either this scratch pad or the answers, or should we like be taking notes as we go right now?
Actually, yeah, I'll share this PDF.
Okay. All right. Cool. Thank you.
Although it's being recorded, I believe.
Yeah, I just figured I would be taking notes otherwise, just so I don't have to watch it again.
No, I'll share this my scratch notes. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Sure. All right. So let's see. So let's see. So here we have a a reducer, right? That right. So this must be the state, right? This must be the state, and this must be the action. And the state has an initial state that on a variable on is equal to 10, and then based on the type of the action, right? If it's equal to base, then on is incremented by 1. If it's not base, then it's decremented by 1. Okay. Okay. And then we have a component here that has three properties, of which one of them seems to be data, but the other two look like they are event handlers, right? So that when we click on dummy, we invoke this function, and we click on text, it invokes this other function. Okay. So let's see what's going on here. Looks like these over here. This seems to be these seem to be the state mapper, right? So this is the state to property mapper, right? And this must be the state, okay, which is mapping the state on is the variable that the reducer is generating, right? And we're mapping it to a property, right here, ipsum, right? Now so this other function must be the dispatch to property mapper, right? And this must be the dispatcher, right? And which we are using to invoke the action, right? Where one of the action we call it with base, whereas the other one we call it with something else other than base. Okay, so that if we click on one button, we call this base, and we click on the other button, we call it with something that's different than base. Okay. All right, excellent. So let's see. So on is initially 10. So what happens if we click on dummy? So if we click on dummy, we call the is function, which has base, and base is going to do what? It's going to increment the count, right? And that's going to be extracted, right? It's going to be extracted into ipsum, and this becomes 11, right? So if we click on dummy, the value is 11. So let's see, what does H1 element render when the component first mounts? Oh, what happens when we haven't clicked on anything yet, right? So what happens if we haven't clicked on anything yet? What does H1 render? Well, it renders, it takes the initial state from here, right? That on is 10. And so it reads this 10 here. This is 10 initially. So ipsum, before this whole thing runs, right? This ipsum is 10. So right before, because it gets it from the state mapper. So it is 10. And after we click it once, it goes to 11. We click it again, it becomes 12. Right, after clicking the first button twice, so it becomes 12. Okay.
Sorry, Professor.
Yes.
So when the component first mounts, are you sure that who function will not be executed? Because the initial value for on is 10. But
Oh no. Okay. No, this is 9. Sorry.
yeah. Okay. Thanks.
It's 9. Sorry. Good catch. All right. So as our student was saying, right? Initially, this is 10. This is 10, but type is not base, right? So this one does not execute, this one executes, right? So it decrements it to 9, from 10 to 9. And so ipsum is 9 at first. 9, good catch. That means that when you click it, you click on it twice, right? When you click on it twice, right? It goes from 9 to 10, and then from 10 to 11. Good catch. Yep. So here we have another example that is playing around with the state in class components, right? Where it initializes the state of a state variable called event to 10. And it's asking us, let's see, we have 3 functions, EWQ, DSA, and CXZ. And we have 3 buttons, right? A, B, and C, which call the 3 functions. Okay. So this is asking us which of the buttons above updates the state of the component using best practices, right? Either C, B, or A. So that means that probably the 3 functions do exactly the same thing, but we're asking, well, which one would you choose, right? Well, let's see. If we click on A, we call EWQ, and EWQ is doing what? Well, EWQ is taking the event and then adding 1 to it. So it's updating the event from 10 to 11. Okay. If we click on, that's if we click on A. If we click on B, right? Is it? Wait a minute. Is it? Am I doing it right? A, B, and C. Okay, this is A, B, and C. So if we click on B, right? We use instead of updating the state variable directly, right? We're using set state this time around, right? And we're updating the event to be the initial state plus 1, right? Plus 1. So it does the same thing, right? So it's incrementing it by 1. And the last one is doing what? The last one is kind of doing the same thing, but instead it's looking at the previous state, right? It's incrementing it by 1 and then setting the value of event, right? So all 3 do the same exact thing, right? So which one would you choose? Okay. So as we mentioned several times, right? When we are dependent, when we need to calculate the state, the current state in terms of the previous state, then the preferable implementation is this one, right? Where we use the version of the set state where it takes a function, right? There's the arrow function, right? That updates the current event, right? In terms of the previous event, previous state, right? So we would not choose any of these 2 options if we are dependent on the previous state. If we don't depend on the previous state, then these 2 are totally fine. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So we would choose C. Okay. All right. Let's go on to the next one. So consider the following code snippet with no syntax errors. And let's see, it looks like we are importing 4 components, and we are rendering all 4. And it looks like we're passing to all 4. We're passing this property message, this attribute, with the same value. Hello, hello world, hello world, hello world. Okay. Now down below, we have presumably some implementations of these components. And it's asking us which of the following component definitions will display hello world. So which one displays hello world? I guess not all of them, right? So let's look at this first one. So let's see, we're importing React, we're declaring the class, we're extending components. And here we're grabbing a message property as an argument to render. No, that's not right, right? The way we pass parameters to a component is through props, right? So we're looking for props.message, right? Not parameters passed into render. So that's no good, right? So definitely not this one. Okay. So this one instead is, let's see, it looks like it's a functional component, but it's using props, right? So yeah, functional components don't use props, right? Instead, they grab their value from this deconstructor, right? So definitely not this one either. So this one is, it looks like it's also a function component. It's reading the attribute as a property and then using it to render. That looks promising. That looks promising. So let's choose this one momentarily. What about this one over here? Let's see, what do we got here? So looks like this is a, it's a class. All right, exports components, got render, return, this, that, props. Okay, so this is also promising, right? Okay, so we'll choose these two, right? We'll choose this one as a functional component solution and this one as a class component solution. Okay. All right, so this one is also loading 4 components, and it's declaring a function hello, which takes message as an argument and then alerts that message. And it gives us 4 components that passes the function hello to all 4 components. And then presumably these 4 components will invoke the function hello, right? Let's see. So which of the following components definitions successfully pops up an alert box when their buttons are clicked? Okay, so select all that apply. Okay, so here we have, so we are receiving the hello as a property, and presumably it's a function that we're passing, right? And then here we have the button that we're clicking, and we're invoking the hello function. Okay, and passing the hello world. So with this render hello world, would it pop up in the alert box? Well, probably not, because this is missing a closure, right? It's missing the arrow. So this would actually end up being like an endless loop. So yeah, but let's not go with this solution. So this other solution, we are a class component, and that we're extending this React.js component, and on click we're calling this props hello. Okay, so that looks promising, right? Well, actually no, we have the same problem, right? This is not in an arrow function, okay, or a function. This could have been just a function. Either one would have worked. Okay, so yeah, not this one either.
Hi, Professor.
Yes.
Now, may I ask, the previous option, I mean, will this also be an endless loop, or it's just,
yeah, both of them would be endless loops.
I mean, will it be instantly initiates alerts the hello world and then stop?
Yeah, no, it'll pause while the alert is up, and when you say okay, it'll invoke it again.
Oh, okay, I got it. Thanks.
Yeah. So this one looks promising, right? So these are identical to the ones before, but it has the closure in there, right? And this one too has a closure. So I would choose these two. So we go with this, the last 2. Okay. All right, so what about this one? So which of the following options sets X to 2? All right, select all that apply. Okay, so let's see. So X, right, we want to set it to 2, and 2, this C seems to come from here, right? So A has an attribute C, and C is equal to 2. So definitely, so okay, this one definitely. Let's take a look at this one. So this one declares A at first with properties B and C. And then this one creates another property, right? A dynamic property of D with the value 2, right? And then it takes that value 2 and assigns it to X. So this is just checking to see if you know, right, that first of all, that you can add, right, in JavaScript you can add properties dynamically, right, which is pretty powerful. Okay, and second, that the square notation, right, is equivalent to the dot notation. So A dot B is equivalent to A square B. Okay, so those are equivalents to each other, right? So they're interchangeable. Let's see this one. Let's look at this one too. This one also. Okay, how about this one? So A declares B and C. Then A dynamic B property is equal to C, and then so A dot D is actually C, and so A dot C is equal to 2. So we're putting 2 in X. So this one too, right? And finally, here is this is just a straight A dot C, which is a 2. So they all set the value to X. Right, considering the following code snippet, which has no syntax error, we have A, B, C, and D, which are being imported from utils. So what do these render, right? In all cases, we're passing 2, 3 to all of them. So which of the following functions definition are correctly defined? So which ones are correctly defined? So here we have B. Let's see if we see any error messages, any errors with B. So B is just it's a regular function, right? That takes A, B as parameters, and it's returning A plus B. So that looks right? So that looks okay. Maybe the only thing that is missing here is that none of these have exports. Okay, none of these have export, but presumably we're not evaluating that. Let's look at this one. So this is again a function that evaluates to A plus B. Okay, that looks right. So it looks like this is an implicit return, right? Okay, whereas this is explicit. Was there a question?
Yeah, is the option B, I mean the parentheses necessary, or you can just omit it?
I'm sorry, say again?
I mean, in option B, I mean the parenthesis is an optional, or we have to put it to represent return.
Oh, you mean these here?
Yeah.
No, you can leave them out.
Okay.
Yep. How about this one over here? So this one, okay, so it's a function that takes A and B as arguments, right? It returns A plus B, right? So the problem here is that it's missing the parentheses, right? Now the parentheses are optional in ES6 if you only have one argument, then the parentheses are optional. But in this case, you have two parentheses, two parameters, right? And so you cannot. They're not optional. So not this one. So this not this one, and this one is almost correct, right? But it's missing the curly brackets between these, right? So this one's no good either. So we're only keeping the first two. Okay. Let's see. So this one says, which of the following options sets map to 2, 8, 18, and 32? So let's see. So it looks like all the options are declaring an array 1, right, with the same initial values, 1, 4, 9, and 16, right? So they're all doing that, okay? They all seem to declare const map 1, right? They all declare that, so they're all the same. They all seem to call array map on all of them. So it must be that we are comparing what's inside of the map. So if remember, the map iterates over an array, which is doing that, right? It's iterating over that array, and then looks at each value in the array, and then builds up a new array with the elements equal to whatever the return is. Okay, so this is a function, takes the value x, right, which is the values 1, 4, 9, and 16, and it returns, 1 times 2, that's 2, 4 times 2 is 8, right? 9 times 8, 2 is 18, and so on and so forth, right? So this one looks promising. Let's look at this one now. So the difference here is that it doesn't have the return. Okay, and this would be okay. I mean, it has the arrow function, all right, but it doesn't have the new ES6 syntax, right? If we didn't have this function, then it would be totally okay, right? So this is no good. This was kind of like a mixture of ES5 and ES6. This one is doesn't have the parentheses, but it's okay because it's only one argument, right? And it's evaluating to x times 2, so that looks promising as well. And this one is the same, but it has an explicit, right, return, right, where this is had as an implicit. Okay, so this one looks good as well. That's okay. Notice that it would have been an error to have a curly bracket here, right? That would have been a no-no, right? Only if you have a return or several steps, then you do need the curly brackets. So no curly brackets here. Oops. There we go. So yeah, so all of them except the last one. So I guess this should have been a this should have been a checkboxes. So which of the following options? Yeah, this should have been a select all that apply. So yeah, so this one, so these three, but not that one. Okay, let's see. So this one is consider the following code snippet, blah blah blah, declaring several variables, several object variables, and notice that this is a template string, right? Notice the backtick. And it has several placeholders, placeholder 1, placeholder 2, placeholder 3, right? And then placeholder 4. And it's building up this string, right, which ends over here. So this says, well, what if I want to render this string over here? What would I put here in 1? What would I put here in 1? And so notice it says hello, and then so we want foo. So we want foo here. And we can get foo from customer.name, right? So this would be, $, customer.name. Okay. Now for 2, that's right after buy, and buy says 10. So 10 is right here. So it would be card.amount. So this would be $, card.amount. Okay. The next one is bar, which is this one over here. So it must be card.product. Right. So this would be card.product. Right. And finally, the last one, right, is for a total of $4, so $1,000. Which what I was looking for was for you guys to multiply 10 times 100. which is 1,000, right? And ideally, what I was looking for is something like this. You know, what is it? Card amount. Undo. Card amount times unit price. So what I was looking for is this, is card dot amount times card unit price. But there were many folks who answered, answered the 1,000 would have been correct. Some people answered 10 times 100. That's also correct. But this is really what I was looking for. But the question was a little ambiguous. Okay, so which of the following options sets C to 6? All right, so this looks like C to 6. C to 6. Oh, okay, so here's C. It's calling functions times 2, 3. So it's passing 2, 3 here, and it's returning the multiplication. So this one works, right? So again, this probably should have been checkboxes. How about this one? All right, so this one looks like it's identical, right? Hopefully we won't have any identical answers in the upcoming exam. Not this one, right? Because it's missing the parentheses, so not this one. And this one's using curly brackets for the parentheses, so not this one. So just these two. How about this one? It says, consider the following array, right? So it has several words: spray, limit, elite, exuberant, destruction, and present. And so it says, which of the following options sets the results to exuberant, destruction, and present? Right? Basically, all these three, and eliminates the first three, and only keeps the last three. Right? So which one of these four does that? Well, notice that they all kind of start the same, right? So const result words, right? They all have the same thing, right? Notice that internally, right? They all have this kind of Boolean expression. And the only difference here is that some of them are array, map, find, and filter. So basically it's asking you, do you know the difference between those four? Okay. So basically notice that what's happening here is that we are removing some and keeping the other three. Okay. So let's look at this. So what does map do? So map, right? Basically it recreates a brand new array, brand new result array with whatever is returned from here. Okay. And what this returns either true or false, right? So in any case, result would be an array of just true, false, false, true. So just Boolean values, right? Not this, right? So definitely not. So definitely that's not the answer. Now what find does, find iterates over the array, and what it does is that it returns the first word, right, that makes this true, right? So in this case it would be the first word whose length is 6. So it would not be this one, not this one, not that one. The first one is this one. So it would return just exuberant. So results here would be just exuberant, right? But it would not create an array. It would not be an array. It would only return the first word. So that's not the one we're looking for. Now filter, okay, filter is more like it, right? Basically filter creates a brand new array. So result would be an array of which elements? The elements for which this is true, right? So if it's true, right, it puts the word in the array. If it's false, right, then it doesn't put it in the array. Okay, so notice that indeed all the words here are greater than 6. Okay, so basically, yeah, this is the one where we want, the last one. Okay. How about this one? So the next one is asking you whether you are familiar with the ellipses, right? With the spreader function, right? It gives you an initial array, the params array, and then this creates. So it says, well, which of the following creates a brand new array called other, which has 1 and 2 as the first elements, and then followed by a copy of the contents of params, right? So basically notice that the first one does that, right? It adds 1 and 2 as the first 2 elements of the array, and then it copies all the elements and params because of the ellipses, right? This one, right, is trying to fool you into thinking that the plus operator does the same thing, right? So it doesn't. So this is no good. This one, what it does is that it has 1, 2, and then a brand new array under there that has the content of params true and 7, which is not what we wanted, right? It's kind of like an array inside of another array, right? That's not what we want. So that one's no good either. So basically the first one does the job, right? It just copies params at the end of 1 and 2. Okay. All right, so this question is about CSS, right? And it kind of plays around with different selectors for CSS. So it says, which of the following options changes the color of the heading? Okay, so let's see. So this first one, right, is looking at an element called H1 followed by a nested element called blue. Okay, notice that none of these have an H1 with a nested blue element, right? None of these have it, right? So none of these have H1 and then inside a blue element. So definitely not this one. Not this one. This one is looking at all the H1 elements and changing the background to blue. Right, so all of them and changing the background to blue. So that one does it, right? So this one changes not because the class is blue, right? Not because the class is blue, because I mean here nobody is changing the class to nobody's even declaring the class blue. So not because of that, but because of H1, right? So this one's promising. Okay, so let's look at this one. This next one says, okay, grab an H1 whose ID is blue. Okay, there's none, right? So there's one with a class blue, but not with an ID blue. So not this one. This one says that H1 with a class blue, but there are none, right? It has an ID blue, but not a class. So that's one is no good either. So I guess we only have just one single option. It's this one right here. Okay. All right. So the next one says, which of the following is the best practice to change the color of the paragraph below? So we're looking for best practice, meaning of all these choices, which one is applying best practices? Right? What thing would you not do? Or what's the worst thing that is happening down below? Or maybe which is the least worst? So let's see. So it looks like this one is trying to change the paragraph to the style color red. So it's changing this to be red. Okay, already style as an attribute is a no-no, right? We said that is it's a maintenance nightmare and you'd be frowned upon in your team if you use an attribute style. Slightly, so definitely not this one. So slightly better than the attribute style, slightly better is the element style, right? At least there's one place, right, at the top of the document that you can then manipulate all the styles within that page. That's a little better, but still not a good idea to have styles. Absolutely the best is to have a style sheet declared elsewhere in a separate document, and then we bring it in as a style sheet, right? With href, we refer to it and we load it, right? This is a much better for maintenance purposes. I can go and modify hundreds of pages just by modifying that one file, as opposed to having to open those files, right, and having to actually modify the style attribute or the style tag. So definitely this one's better. Yes, and finally, these two are using the style attribute, right? Which is again, either a style attribute or the style tag. It's a no-no, so let's not go with those. So the best practice one is this one right here. Okay, so what does URL stand for? So make sure you know your acronyms, right? So Universal Resource Locator, and www, World Wide Web, REST. So no REST. It's all work, no REST. We will be starting to look at REST later today or Wednesday. But anyway, it stands for Representational State Transfer. What does SPA stand for? Right, single page applications. What does JSON stand for? Right, JavaScript object notation. What does CSS stand for? So cascade style sheets. HTML, hypertext markup language, HTTP, hypertext transfer protocol. Right. So make sure you know your acronyms. Okay. Okay, so these are more Redux questions, right? The asking about the state to property mapper, right? Saying it generates the new state to a component's dispatcher. Okay, so first of all, the state to property mapper has nothing to do with the dispatcher. Okay, and it does not generate a new state. Okay, so that's false. This one, dispatch to property mapper. So this is the dispatch to property mapper. So maps functions to a component's property. Yep, it does that. And then the functions dispatch actions to reducers. All right, and then the functions dispatch. Yep, so it's true in both accounts. Consider the following data model. Okay, so this one, okay, so this is REST, so no REST. So no REST. Okay, so here's another REST question, so no REST. So no REST for the exam. And this is REST, no REST. No REST. Okay, I guess I don't have anything else. That's also REST. So no. No REST. Which of the following required? Okay, which one of the following is a required property of the action object? So you definitely have to have the type property in there. Match the following left-hand side options with the, so match these with drop downs from the right-hand side. There's a question on the chat. Approximately how many questions do we have for the midterm? I would say about 30 questions, about 30, maybe 40. Yeah, 40 is kind of stretching it. What else? Okay, that's it. That's all I have for you. All right. Yeah. All right, any questions?
Yeah, Professor, it seems like some of the problems could take a lot more time than other ones. Given this, like, do you think that we should read through the whole exam before actually answering any, just so we have an idea of kind of where we're headed?
Well, the problem is that usually these exams are one at a time. Well, I guess you could go one at a time, right? And then jump around.
Oh, I see. Okay, so because you have to hit next, like there's
Yes.
no way to like see them in a list or anything.
No.
Oh, okay. All right, but we could go back if we want
Yes,
to.
you can.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
All right. So the next. All right. So if there's no more questions on the midterm, I was hoping that I could introduce the upcoming assignments. Just chat about that a little bit. iPad still doing something? Oh, it is.
Hey, we can hear you now. I don't know if you were talking before.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I think I closed my iPad and I thought you could hear me on my laptop. Can you see my
Yeah, I can see your screen with the WD5, and I can hear you now.
okay, perfect. Excellent. Thank you. Right. I was saying that up to this point you've been using my my server for storing the data, right? You've been storing courses, modules, lessons, topics. So in this next assignment, we're going to have a chance to practice implementing our own server where we can store our own data and eventually store it in a database. For now, we're going to store it in memory, but in the assignment after this one, we're going to be storing it in a database. So we're going to be using the same Java server that we had used early on at the beginning of the semester. That we used it for implementing some static content, some HTML, some CSS. Then we played around with jQuery. So we're going to come back to that server, and we're going to use it as a middle tier server that is going to provide a data model that we're going to be able to manipulate, which is going to consist of simply a list of widgets, an array of widgets. Very much like you're currently using my server to manipulate arrays of courses, arrays of modules, lessons, topics. Here you're going to interact with an array of widgets. So to that end, you're going to create first a widget RESTful service, which is going to consist of a Java REST controller and a Java service, okay, that are going to provide an API for your clients. So your client using your React service, right, is going to talk to your Java RESTful controller, right, and then the controller will talk to a Java service, which eventually it'll talk to a database. But for now, right, it'll maintain everything in memory. And so we'll start by creating a Java class that will hold the data, right, for individual widgets. So widgets are user interface elements, right, that we can use, that faculty could use to represent all sorts of things on a page. So for instance, if you look at Canvas, right, a faculty can use several widgets, right? Like for instance, within a module, right, I can add any number of widgets. We can add assignment widgets, quiz widgets. We can assign a page. We can create a header. I can create a link to something else, right? So we're going to consider doing something similar where we can create, widgets such as, YouTube video widgets, raw HTML that we're going to be able to freeform edit HTML, images, links to slides, things like that, right? So in your widget class, you're going to have enough information to store all sorts of things in there, right? So we'll have a type. The widget will know what type it is, so we'll know if it's a YouTube widget, if it's an image widget, right? If it's an HTML widget, paragraph, and so on and so forth. And it will keep track of the text that each one of these types of widgets needs. Like a paragraph is going to need text. Okay, a heading is also going to need text for some kind of label, right? And same thing with HTML, right? It'll store its HTML in text format. So first we'll create a data model to store our data. Then we'll implement a web service Java, which is going to implement the manipulation of that data model, right? So that it will know how to create widgets, actually instantiate widgets, and add them to some data structure where it can keep track of all the widgets that's created. Eventually, it'll be to the database, but for now, it'll be some data model, right, that we're storing in memory. So it'll know how to create widgets for a given topic. It'll know how to find all the widgets for a given topic, right? Update a widget if we know their widget ID and give you a new version of that widget. You can remove widgets. You can retrieve all the widgets. Okay, so all the operations that you would expect, right? CRUD operations to be able to manipulate a data structure. Then we have a widget controller, which is going to expose this functionality, this data manipulation, data handling. It's going to expose it through a web API, right? A set of URLs that are going to follow a well-known convention called REST or RESTful, and which stipulates that if you're creating data, then you should use post, HTTP post. If you're just reading data, you should use get. If you're modifying data or updating data, then you should put, and then delete if you're removing things from the API. So these are all conventions, naming conventions and coding conventions that are somewhat agreed upon in industry on how to expose these data models for folks that are implementing user interfaces that want to interact with your application. Here's the lead. So once we have this controller running on the server, from the client, from the React client, we need to be able to connect to it. And just like we connected to the core service and the domain service and the section service, right? We were going out to the generic server, right? And now this time around, we're going to be going out to your server, right? Because you're going to be providing all this behavior, right? And although you're not going to be going there exclusively, right? So half of the application is written based on my generic server. But this next half, right, which starts after the exam, right, you're going to be building things that go beyond that, right, where you get implementing your own data model, your own server, right? And so here's the API that you're going to be building that's going to connect to your remote server, right? Okay, so that's on the middle tier side, right? And you're communicating with all the data and whatnot. Now on the client side, right, you're going to go fetch all these widgets for a given topic, and you'll render them under the topics, right? So you'll have the modules on the left, right? You'll have the modules on the left, you have the lessons on the top, the pills, and then down below, you'll have these widgets rendered, okay? Heading not being edited. Oh, interesting. Okay, yeah. Yeah, so the list of widgets has a plus sign that allows you to add a new widget. Now, each widget by default are all heading widgets of size 1. Heading, just like the heading in HTML, right? Just which normally you have 6 sizes. And they all are displayed, in preview mode as opposed to edit mode, and they all provide this kind of like cog on the right hand side that allows you to click on it and then edit it. For instance, if this header here, we click on cog, it would be replaced with something that looks like what's below here, right? It's a drop down with the types of widgets that you can change. Because it's a heading widget, it allows you to change the label of the text of the heading here. Also, you can choose what size you want for the heading, right? And down below you have a paragraph widget. So these are the simplest of widgets, right? They're almost useless, but nevertheless, right, allow you to enter some content, right, for folks to start reading content in your application, right? Okay, so this goes into a little more detail for individual widgets, the paragraph widget and the heading widget. So the paragraph widget, right, you need to implement it in a components widget, paragraph widget, and so basically it renders content with paragraph elements surrounding it, right? It does have an edit button, right, a cog. Where is it? Here it is, right? So there it is. This is how it renders. If you click on the cog, what you get back is it switches the content to be some text area where you can edit the paragraph. Okay, and you can say okay, you can save it, you can delete it. Okay, and the most interesting part is that you can change the type of the widget on the fly. You can say, oh, this is a heading widget, right? And without losing your place, right? Right. If you switch over to the heading, then obviously the label would be empty. The size of the heading might be empty. But right, so ideally you would not be losing any of that information. The heading widget, right? Again, it also has a default not being rendered format, and whereas down below, right, if you click on cog, right, you get what's down below, which allows you to edit the heading, right, the size and whatnot. Widget reducer, you need a reducer to be able to handle the state for all the widgets when you create a widget, delete a widget, update a widget, right? And that's it, right? Those are the deliverables for this assignment. All right, any questions? So we're gonna get started in earnest working on this assignment next time we meet. Right? So if you could, if you have some time to spare and take a look at the assignment, if you have questions, you can come Wednesday with any questions you might have about the assignment. But we'll get you going, right? Remember, we're going to handhold you for a lot of it, but then subsequent assignments, you're more on your own for some of the topics. Okay. So anyways, any questions? All right. No questions. All right. So I was thinking maybe having some office hours now. If folks have questions, I'm glad to help out if you have any questions.
Hello, Professor.
Yes.
Can you like see the code repository that I mentioned before?
Oh, right, the code repository. Yes. Can you send me the link?
Yeah, definitely.
I have a
You can send it in the chat.
Yes.
quick question about
Is
this.
this my repository?
Sorry.
Is this my code repository?
Yeah, I think it's for section 2.
Okay, I'll take a look at that.
Yeah.
Was there another question? I heard someone.
Yeah, I just have a quick question about the assignments. So if we select the course and go into the course editor and no modules are selected, is it okay not to show any like lessons and topics until the user clicks on a module?
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Can I ask a couple questions about the assignment as well?
Okay.
So for starters, with the course title, so when you open the course editor, you get like the course ID up in the route, but you don't have the course title. So should we be adding that to our like modules reducer maybe to like go get the course from the server, so that way we can retrieve the title and go like put that up at the top of the
Exactly.
course
Yep.
editor? Okay,
Exactly.
cool. So would that go in the modules service and the modules reducer? Would that make the most sense?
To fetch the course.
Yeah, just because we don't have a course reducer. I don't know if you wanted us to make a
right.
course
We don't have a
reducer.
course reducer. Correct.
And it's kind of related to the modules in
Yeah.
a sense.
You're
so
right.
I put it there, but I mean, I can make a course reducer. I don't know.
No. Makes sense.
Okay, cool. And the only other thing was I just put like my add button like up in my like modules like header instead of putting it like down as like the last point in the list, just in case the list gets too long. Like, is that gonna matter?
Say it again.
Oh, just like the plus button in the modules list. Like if the modules list gets long, then you could like lose the plus button. So I just put it at the top. I don't know if like I
that's
should
a good idea. Yeah, that's a good idea.
It probably doesn't matter, right?
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Just wanted to check.
Sure.
Thank you.
Bye.
Can you said that const cached item set cached item equals to use state item, that would only be called once, right? So,
yes, it would.
I think like if you first have successfully added some updated some item and then you switch to another item, then the ID would still be the last item. It's not the new item that you selected.
So wait a minute. So okay. So this is copying item, right? So now
Yeah.
cached item has item.
Yeah.
Now, if you make changes, right, and then you say okay. So set editing false. So you're done.
Mm-hmm.
And so you update the item
Using the cached item.
So when you update the item, that goes to who's this? Editable item.
Cached item.
Right, no, but update item. Oh, you know what we don't do? Oh no, actually no, we are updating everything here.
Yeah, that's why
what
I
you're
think
referring
it should
to.
copy from item instead of like cached item.
I think I know what you mean. I think what the issue with this is that when you go to edit and then delete one of the modules or the item, when you edit a new one, it will the initial value is going to be set to the last value because you're using the last cached item.
Yes,
so the way
right.
I fixed it is on
No,
where it says not editing on
I
click.
think that one is caused by the delete button. You need to add set editing false there, so that situation doesn't happen. But for this line 31, what would happen is that when you first successfully update some item, and that cached item just has this updated item's ID there, and then you want to update another item, it would only update the before item instead of the newly selected one.
Because it's caching the old ID, you're saying.
Yeah, it's not
But-
using the new item path.
But I mean, each has its own editable, right? I mean,
Yeah, each component is of its own. They shouldn't be related.
yeah, they all should have their own copy of the item that they're editing, so they're independent of each other, right? So because when you're iterating, so you're iterating the modules, right?
Yeah.
You're iterating and generating every editable item.
Yeah.
And each one is getting a copy of the module 1, module 2, module 3.
Yeah.
So the first editable item will have module 1, the second will have module 2, and so on and so forth. So they're not crossed, right? So I'm not sure what you mean.
Because that situation just happened if I just like use this line 31, but if I change it to like that dot item, that doesn't happen anymore. So
So here what you're doing is that
I'm changing it to
so
item.
here, right here.
Yeah, just line 31.
Cache mount. Okay. Okay.
I don't know if like anybody else has encountered this problem, because I discussed with several classmates and they all have this problem. And then I realized if I change this line, that won't happen. So
Okay.
yeah.
That's a good catch. Could you post a message to everyone on Piazza?
Yeah, I've actually sent a post that's a private, but because I'm not very
Yeah, no,
sure.
make it public,
Okay.
public, and so that others can use your insight.
Yeah.
Can you maybe like write out the steps in that Piazza post? I'm curious if I can reproduce it because I don't entirely understand. So maybe I could just read the Piazza post.
Yeah, I have some like brief description there, and you can like refer to that post. I will now make it
Awesome.
public.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Would you mind, share your screen and demo it for us? I really don't know what your question is.
Professor, can I share my screen? Is it possible?
Sure. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
How do I?
Since there's a
Okay.
security here, and you can invite everyone to share the screen.
Wait. Me. Blah blah blah. Show always touch. I don't know. Can you share?
Let me see. It says you disabled participant screen sharing.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Screen share. Let me see if I stop sharing.
Okay.
I know there's a
Blah, blah.
setting somewhere. It's so hard to find it though. I always forget where it is. It might be in video settings. I can't
It's
remember
in
though.
security, like a shield icon, and you can click it, and there is allow everyone to share its screen.
Yeah, I know, but this is my iPad, so I don't know. Wait.
Oh, iPad. Oh, sorry.
Oh, Jose. Okay, I'm the co-host, so I'm gonna stop my iPad. See if because I know how to do it on my laptop. I don't know how to do it on my iPad. So I'm gonna stop the meeting, and I am the co-host, so I should not kill everyone.
Okay.
So I'm gonna leave and leave meeting, assign and leave co-host. Yes. Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so I think it worked.
Okay, let me try. It still doesn't
Wait a
enable.
minute. Oh, that's weird. Now my laptop is not letting me share. It's not letting me allow other people to share.
Uh,
Wait, chat, pause, meeting, recording live, breakout, disable.
How about you assign the host to anyone else who are using laptop or and
Okay. Okay, so who do I assign it to? Who's this?
this is Jingyi1. Let me type my name.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
More chat, make co-host. Okay, you're co-host.
Okay, thank you.
Try sharing now.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can see your host. I can see.
Okay, great. So let me first use the your like code there. Let me change it to like hashed item. So here, so firstly, I can successfully change the name of this one. And then if I select this and I wanna, sorry, just to make sure, let me, you see, it's not, it's the value, but here, if I just change it to just lesson, it's not working. It's still A2 underscore 112, which is the value of this one.
Okay.
Yeah, but if I just, let me pull my ID here. If I just change this line to item and refresh. Change this one first, then switch to this one and change it just to less than A2-1. It's working.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So make a public post
Okay.
with your suggestion and how folks could try and reproduce it. Okay.
Okay. Sure.
Cool.
Yeah, that's the problem I have. Thanks.
Excellent. Thank you.
Professor, I had another question. So I was noticing, I guess some like minor bugs with the reducer. Well, I guess before the reducer, the point of the use effect, I guess technically would be to like put like some kind of loading indicator, like if we were really using it properly, right?
Yeah. I mean the use effect is gives
Because
you a chance to
it allows you to like
initialize.
wait, right?
I'm sorry.
It allows you to like wait, basically, right? Is that kind of how it
Well,
works?
yeah, it's kind of like a constructor. I mean, in a class, you have a constructor, which you don't in a function, and also in a in a class, you have some of the hooks that tell you what your life cycle is. When are you being mounted? When you are dismounted, which you don't get in a function, like a constructor and a destructor, right? So you don't get that in a function. So use effect allows you to have those kinds of behaviors, right? So that when you first initialize, this function within a function gets invoked, so that you can do things such as set up a state, go out to the server, or initialize yourself, right?
Okay.
And also listen for certain things that happen, and so that you don't get called every time, right? You can filter out and say, well, I only care about if so and so changed, then I want to respond to certain events, but maybe not all of them. So you can filter out what events trigger your initialization, right? And we saw that in the example that, if you don't filter, right, you kind of get into this infinite loop where, because you're changing the state, you're rendering, and then the use effect gets called again, right, which changes the state, which renders, which causes it to call again, right? So you can filter out and say, well, no, right, only if certain things happen, then I want to initialize myself. Otherwise, right, I just want to stay and not change my state.
Okay, so with so I guess I'm just trying to make sure I'm using like the reducer and the reducers and the use effect properly, because what I notice is that every once in a while when I get like a slight network lag on my service, typically it seems almost instant, but every once in a while I notice that, like, for example, if I click on a new module, then the new module will load the lessons from the other module before the service renders the proper lessons, because the reducer is still pointing to the state of the other module because the service hasn't finished.
Right. That is actually probably because of the promise, right? The promises allow you to do all these things asynchronously in no particular order.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a common behavior that the request went out to the server hasn't responded yet, right? Meanwhile, you're doing other things, and then you get interrupted because the response came back.
Right. So for like a brief minute, it almost looks like like module 1 lessons belong to module 2 lessons until the promise resolves, basically.
Exactly. Yeah. But that's a side effect of using promises.
Okay.
Not necessarily of the use effect, right? The use effect start the ball rolling, right? But the actual synchronization of doing all these asynchronous calls is done through promises.
Okay.
And so what you might want to do is clear out previous states, so that you don't get stale states that don't belong to, like, for instance, the wrong lessons showing up for the wrong module, where you might want to clear out the state so that you're clean, and once it's clean, then go out and do the query.
So maybe like for like my on-click events from like my different links, I should add that in, like some kind of call to the reducer to
So for instance,
reset itself.
Right. For instance, say you're changing from between modules, before going out to the, to fetch the lessons or the topics or whatever, you can clear out the old lessons, because you might be inside a module, instead of a lesson, instead of a topic, and then you click a different module, but then you have the old lessons, right, or the old topics. You might want to clear them out first, right?
Mm-hmm.
So make them empty, and you have access to all the reducers, right?
Yeah.
So in your mapper, you have access to all the reducers. You're not only just the one that pertains to your modules, but you also have access to all the lessons, all the.
I just import whatever I need.
The dispatcher can generate any number of events, not only to the one, if you're only choosing the module, you can also send to the reducer for the lesson, the reducer for the topics, to clear them out, right?
Okay.
And because when you call dispatch, right, all the reducers run, right? They all run, and they're all looking for the type, and the type that matches, that's the one that executes.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense, because you add all of them like in the hierarchy.
Yeah, they all really belong to just one big reducer.
Right. They just get consolidated.
Yeah, they all get consolidated. Yeah, exactly.
So if you really wanted to, you could actually even like say that the state, like, when it's in between resolving the promise, you could even like go and try to get the state, and the state could somehow like tell you that it's load. Like you could check that it's even loading, and then like show a loading bar.
Yep. Exactly.
Cool. Okay.
Yep.
Cool. All right. Thank you.
All right, cheers.
Professor, could you please repeat what the explanation of question 6? I think I'm a little bit uncertain about the state part.
Question 6.
It is the answer is 9 instead of 10. That question, I don't know if you still remember.
Question 6. Okay, let me share my screen.
Oh, sure, thanks.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can.
Right. So what we were saying was that when this reducer first runs, the state variable on was 10, and the first, which is the action, the type was undefined at first, so it's not equal to base.
Yeah.
Right. So it modifies the on variable, initializes to, decrements it by 1, so it becomes 9.
Oh, I have a question here. Maybe I'm a little bit interested in the mechanism of this. I mean, for example, when the component is rendered, is the reducer render first or the component render first? I think.
Yeah, no. So what happens is that so all these components are under the provider.
Yeah.
And so the provider needs to have something in the store, right? So it calls all the reducers to generate the state, which is going to then be provided to the store down to all the components. So it needs to have a value. So it runs all these functions first.
Okay. So
right? And they provide a default initial state, which then gets trickled down to all the components through the mappers.
Yes.
So when this runs, right, the type has no value, right?
Yeah.
So it's not equal to base. So this is what happens, right? That's why we say that all switch statements should always have a default, right? Because the type might be undefined at first, right? That's why you have like a default, right? And then those default states populate the overall state.
Oh, so you mean when you say function reducer runs first, is actually those functions like the who here runs first, right? It will be executed one time at the beginning.
At the very beginning, it executes even before it gets to the components.
Okay,
because
so
by the time it gets to the components, it needs to have a state, right?
Yeah, so actually it's running this to generate a state and try to connect and give it to the while connect to the component.
Yep.
Okay, so that's why here we need to -1, so it should be 9, right?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, I think I got it. Thank you.
Sure.
Oh, another question is about the return. I mean, I asked you before, like you said we can reduce, we can save some time by not typing return, but instead of using a parenthesis to represent the return. And I asked, and just during this course, whether that parenthesis can be omitted, and you said yes. So this is
not here though.
Yeah, so when should I?
Not here because you have a parenthesis, you have a curly bracket here. See that?
Oh, I don't think it's here. I mean, it's just a very simple arrow function. Yeah.
Yeah. So if it's a simple arithmetic, right, or returning a string, then yeah, you can omit the parentheses, but not here because you're returning a JSON object, and JSON objects are confusing because a curly bracket is not only can be interpreted as a JSON object, but it could also be interpreted as the body of a function.
Yes.
So not here. This absolutely needs a parentheses, right?
Yeah,
but if this were just a number or in a regular expression, it could use the parentheses or it could not use the parentheses.
So every time we met a JSON object, is I have to keep that in mind that I need the parentheses to represent.
Yeah, you do need the parentheses.
Okay, that's the most confusing part.
But it's because curly bracket has two meanings. right?
Oh,
And here, because it's an arrow function, the curly bracket would be interpreted not as a JSON object, it would be interpreted as the body of a function.
okay, yeah. So we need to use the parentheses to avoid the
Yes.
the ambiguous meaning of
Yep,
whether
exactly.
it's a JSON object or function body.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Thanks. Thanks, Professor. I will leave. Goodbye.
How you doing?
Have a good night.
Anything else?
Hi, Professor.
Hi, what's up?
Hi. I have a question about the route stuff.
About the what?
The route.
Route, okay.
Yeah, the route. Let me share my screen. Oh, it says host disabled participant screen sharing. Professor,
What's
my name is Wen Huanzhu. Let me type
what's
in.
your name?
I just sent in the chat.
In the chat.
Wen Huanzhu.
Wen
Yeah.
Huang?
Yeah.
Okay, just a minute. Go ahead. Oh, wait. Go ahead.
Okay. Screen sharing. Continue. Okay. Share. Professor, can you see my screen now?
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, this is my homepage. When I go to my course table, and when I click the new course, and it will bring me to the editor. It sounds like I shouldn't have the navbar bar here, and also for the URL should be course editor, and also course module and module ID, which I have the module ID here, but I think this part should not be this. And I tried to also get rid of the navbar bar, but I never make it. So, and also same thing happened when I click the navbar bar, and also for the lesson, they generate the lesson ID after this, but still, this part is not the format we want in a requirement.
Okay.
And I was check probably in my module ID, I have like editable item. I have two, this part, and I took the course editor and the course ID and the module ID. I was thinking probably I just get rid of the courses, which will get rid of the navbar bar, which.
Yeah, well, no, I think the problem here is that you have several things going on in the route. Probably you're not using exact equal true.
Oh, here. Oh,
in the route.
In the route, it should be a course management. I was also confused about the course management JS and app.test JS because I suppose they don't have the route stuff in my course manager, but I was watching the recorded video and they have some route, so I was added here. So we shouldn't have the exact true right here.
Yeah, you should always use exact equal true.
Oh, just here.
So you know exactly what is rendering that route.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, if you have partial paths, right, it might trigger rendering your route, and you're gonna get mixtures like you have here on the left hand side. So it's easier if you keep exact equal true. So
probably oh, my course JS. I don't have the here.
So
probably,
what is this here? What's app.js?
Yeah, this is my app.js.
Okay. So here you have three routes. One is
here.
Okay, so you're saying div, okay, route home, okay, / courses. And notice that courses is not exact. That means that you're always going to render the course manager. So put that in there so that it only renders when you are in /courses.
Okay.
Right, so go back. Okay, courses, go to courses.
Courses.
So courses. Okay, and go to courses table. Oh, wait a minute, so courses table. Okay, so where do you have that courses table? Oh, that's why. Okay, all right, so now I see why you didn't have exact equal true. Okay, take out the exact equal true.
This one? Okay.
Yeah. Because probably. Okay, yeah, okay. So because you have the table and the grid inside of the course manager, don't you, right?
Yes, yes.
Got it. Okay. All right. Go to course manager.
Course manager.
So in the course manager, go up a little bit. And course table, course grid. All right, scroll a bit more. Okay, so you have that nav bar, right? You have that nav bar.
Oh, I see here.
And that's always going to show as long as you have the course manager.
Yes.
Yeah.
There will.
Let's see. How can we fix this?
Oh, probably probably it can be duplicate. Like I add this navbar bar stuff to my individually like cost table and cost grid.
Yeah, I mean that could work. Nav inputs course name this.state route, and you have the course manager way up there. Which you only want to render it when you have courses, course table. Course manager. So go to course manager.
Course manager here.
Yeah. Go. I'm sorry, to the one above this.
Oh, this one. Oh.
Table?
Yeah. Table?
No. Go to app, I guess. App.js, I guess.
This one.
App.js.
Oh, where's my? Oh, sorry. Here, FJS.
Okay. So instead of saying route path courses, okay, so put that inside of. Okay, so all those right there. So select all the quotes too. Select the whole. Okay, now put curly brackets, and now put it in square brackets. Press the opening square brackets. No, not parentheses.
Oh,
so curly brackets and then square brackets.
Square bracket? Is it this one?
No.
What's the square?
It's the one in the same key.
Oh, I see here.
There you go. All right. So do after courses put slash. That's those courses put slash. Table.
Table.
Okay, let's try that.
Save.
Okay, refresh. Go to home. Go to home. Okay, course table. Okay, good. It works.
Yeah,
go back to the editor. And so after the on line 15, after the closing quote, put comma. after the closing quote? No.
Oh, sorry, here,
Yeah, comma. And then comma, not semicolon.
comma. This is a comma? Oh, what's
Yeah.
the comma? Comma
Yeah,
is one.
comma. And then open, now do double quotes again.
Double quote,
Yeah, and in there put slash courses slash grid.
slash courses, slash grade.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's a period. It has to be a comma. There we go.
Comma. There you go.
Okay, now go back to the course manager. Go to grid.
Great.
Okay, good. Now navigate to an editor. No, from the click on course. Course editor. Okay, can I see the URL for the course editor here?
This one?
Courses editor.
Yeah, it is
Courses.
course.
Okay, so go back to your IDE. Oh, okay. They all start with slash editor. See that? Slash editor.
Yeah.
So your
actually go-
links should not have courses.
Yeah.
Or you need to add slash courses here.
Slash courses.
Yeah, you need to decide which one you want. You either change the hyperlinks or you change this.
See.
Okay, now go back and click on it. All right, there you go. See that? It doesn't have the top anymore.
Oh, I see. Oh, by the way, for the if I go to the editor from my course table, like I clicked here, this should be courses table? Should I add like a table and
Oh,
also
well,
editor?
yeah, okay. Yeah, then instead of editor, right, that should be layout.
Oh, like layout.
No, just without the editor.
No editor.
Well, I don't know what the homework says. I forget.
Oh, I think.
Whatever the homework says.
Oh, it says layout and editor.
edit.
Let me change this later. So if I change here.
Yeah, but that one has editor, so you need to change. Remove the or. Just change the order there. No, because the homework says well, put editor now. Put editor for now,
editor.
and then change it later. Editor.
Mhm.
Okay. Now go back and refresh. Hey. Editors. Wait, course. Oh, you're missing the layout. You're missing the layout.
Oh, for the all of the.
No, I mean in the hyperlink, you need to go back in the grid and the table and fix your URL so that they have the layout.
Oh, so I need to go back my grid and table.
Yeah. So go to your table. Go to your table.
This is my table.
Yeah, in your IDE. Go to your
IDE.
row. Okay, this one
Right
should
here?
be courses, right? Slash table.
Oh, slash table, since this is specifically for table.
Yeah, table slash editor. Yeah. Okay. Now try.
And also, yeah, I think also same for the grade, but I will change it later. I'll bring the neighbor bar back.
Oh, because you have courses table, and that loads the course manager.
Yes.
Okay, then but change it to edit. Oh wait, edit table. I don't know. You can play with that a little more. I showed you how to fix it, right? So you can play with it.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah,
so now the
that-
URL matches what the assignment. Well, almost, right? Instead of editor, it should be edit.
Yeah, edit. And also I should get rid of the neighbor bar.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably I can fix this if I play around with the code.
Yes.
Okay, basically I got the logic, so hopefully I will figure out. Thank you so much, Professor.
Cool.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey, Professor.
Hi.
Can I ask a question about the homework?
Sure.
Can you let me share my screen?
Go ahead. I need maybe to make you host.
Yeah.
You are who?
I typed my name, Dan Yin.
Dan Yin?
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
Oh, so this is about the delete module. So you can see my screen, right?
Yes.
So the question is, if I select a new title or new module, and then I add some new lessons, topic, but later if I delete this module, the lessons will still be here. So
Yeah.
is there any way I can like re-render the whole course editor?
Yeah. So as another student was asking, right? When you delete the module, you can also reset the lessons, right? When you dispatch the delete module, you can also dispatch to the lessons and the topics and clear out the lessons and the topics.
So you mean like in the module, I can also call the lesson reducer?
Yeah, you can call all three reducers. Yeah, you can call all the reducer and dispatch to all of them, right?
Oh, I see. Oh, okay. Let me here. So you mean like in the delete module here? I mean, I just call another lesson service. Delete.
Yeah, so there we're on line 74.
Uh-huh.
Line 74. Right now you're dispatching only to the, I don't know, module reducer maybe.
Yeah.
So instead of just that one line, make it several lines. So put it right before the dispatch, put a curly bracket, enter.
This one?
Yeah, before the dispatch. Yeah, before the dispatch, put your cursor there, curly bracket, enter.
Curly bracket, enter.
Yeah, but no, your cursor needs to be right in front of the dispatch. Okay, now curly bracket.
So you mean in here we create a block and we run like
Yes.
two dispatch.
Yeah,
One
to enter.
type delete module and one
Enter. Okay, now you can do another dispatch to the lesson reducer with a find modules, find lessons, and you pass in lessons empty array.
Oh.
Right, and so that would clear the lessons to be empty, and same thing for the topics.
Oh, so before here, I have to do a dispatch again, right?
Yeah, you'll dispatch
and
with a different type. Yeah,
like
you don't need the comma.
Oh, I don't need comma. Okay.
No, because these are two functions, right?
Oh, two functions. Okay.
Two function calls. One is being handled by the module reducer. Another one will be handled by the lesson reducer, and the other one will be handled by the topic reducer.
Oh, okay. All right. I will figure out myself the rest of myself. But thank you.
Sure.
So here should we have three dispatch, right? I mean, for module.
Yeah, three dispatch.
Okay. Okay.
Professor, a follow-up to this question. Wouldn't we also have a different service to call? So module service, lesson service, and
well, no, because the lessons are cleared, right? You don't need the server for this.
Okay, so just pass in.
You're just updating the user interface, right?
Right. So for when I delete a module, all the lessons in the module get deleted, and all the topics in that.
Well, no, they're not. Well, ideally they would be deleted, but that's not a requirement, and that would be probably for the server to decide.
So you mean delete is just because we no longer have the module, so all the lessons and topics belong to the module can no longer be visited, right?
Right.
Oh, okay.
So it'll just help in clearing the UI.
Yeah, this is only for clearing the UI, exactly.
All right, thank you, Professor.
Ideally, on the server, you would have like a cascade delete.
Right.
So that if the parent is deleted, then all the children are deleted. I don't have that, but that's not your business.
All right. Okay, thank you, Professor.
Sure.
Professor, will you be joining the office hours channel?
I'm sorry?
Will you be joining the office hours channel? I
oh crap! Yes. Let's switch to the office hours.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'll meet you there.